Welcome back to the Act Two podcast, a podcast for the real-life working screenwriter. I'm Tasha Hugh.
And I'm Josh Hallman.
And we're Act Two, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. Thank you for joining us here. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on our upcoming topics. You can also DM us with questions, topic suggestions. You just want to tell us what's going on in your writing life. You can do that at ActTwoWriters@gmail.com, all spelled out. Or on our Instagram at ActTwoWriters. I am Story Thursday on Instagram.
And I am Josh Hallman on Instagram.
I was supposed to get up at 5:30 this morning, and, my alarm didn't go off.
No.
Don't know why. Doesn't really happen. I'm usually pretty good at that sort of basic adult thing.
Yeah.
And so I get this punch in the stomach. And it's Paul being like, it's 6:30. I was like,
no
oh shit.
Way.
So I just leap up. I'm in my pajamas. My hair is really weird right now because I'm growing out. I had shaved it. So half of my hair was sticking straight out. But now I'm really awake for some reason. So I got some good energy.
I'm feeling good. If you're feeling good, I'm feeling good.
Okay, great. What time did you get up?
I was 5:30-ish.
It's late for you.
It was. I woke up. I was like, I'm feeling great. I'm just moving around. I'm feeling aimless though these mornings. I feel like my body hurts more. I'm just do I need to stretch and not work?
Yes, the answer is yes.
My work has been substituted with stretching. So now I don't work in the morning anymore.
Getting old sucks, man. And it sucks.
Sit around, right? Where you wake up and then you go sit and work, and it's I can't do this. Should we do it? This Week in Writing?
This Week in Writing.
This Week in Writing.
We had this cool Q&A for our Patreon, our Act 2 Patreon, last night. When this comes out, it'll be a week after that evening, where we talked about How to Make a Killing, that Glenn Powell movie that came out last month. And we also read the script. And we compared, because the topic was adaptation, right? Or not adaptation, but what the script versus the shooting sort of script looks like, and why because the writer and director is the same for How to Make a Killing. And so why did they make the choices that they did from the script to shooting, and what kind of lessons can we learn as writers from those changes that were made? And also what I love to ask people when we do these Q&As, because it's always about a movie that's come out or a script that we've read that sold for $1 million, because we're always trying to learn new things as writers from them. I always ask people, what would you change if you were hired to rewrite How to Make a Killing? How would you do that? If I was a studio executive asking you to revise this, what would your pitch be to revise it? And it's always really interesting to hear people and what they would change, because everyone has a different movie that they would make, which is cool. But it also forces us to think about these really practical things when we look at movies and when we examine movies, rather than just be I liked it or I didn't like it. Let's talk about why, right? Let's talk about what you would do differently. What lessons can we learn for your next project that you're going to be on? So we did that. That's fun. If that sounds interesting to you, sign up for our co-EP level. It's $10 a month, and you get the links to all those things, and they're fun.
And in the future, we're going to be doing Attack the Block.
Yes, we're going to do Attack the Block. Next month, we're doing our Oscar pool winner, David. He chose Little Miss Sunshine because he wants to talk about ensemble movies and how to successfully write an ensemble while also caring about a particular character's arc, which I think is a really great topic. Thank you, David. But then, yes, after that, in May, we're going to be doing Attack the Block. I feel for just the sake of our friendship, I should go and try to watch the link you sent me of it in 2015.
Oh my God.
But can I?
I have no idea.
Because it's on iTunes buy. Is that still a thing?
It's going to be one of those things where the flux capacitor starts fluxing, and it's the lights in your house are going to go off, and the TV's going to start shooting flames out of it. And you're going to be what is happening right now? And it's just going to show you Attack the Block. God, I'm so excited. I don't know. I think Jim said it. I can't even believe I didn't think about this. If there was a way to get you to watch this movie that I've been asking you to watch, I almost don't want you to watch it.
I told you I'm not going to come to that one. I'm going to be sick that week.
I'm going to be so bad. I'm I'll never speak to you again. So real quick, I just have a very quick-ish This Week in Writing.
Okay.
Last night, my wife and I were going to watch Scream 7 at like 10 p.m. So we fired it up, laying in bed, like the first 10 minutes of it. So there was a noise. Something fell like in that opening sequence of Scream, like something in my house like crashed and fell. I was like, oh my God. I was so scared, just kind of like creeping around my house, and my mind was going. I was like, oh my God, this is just like Scream. So then I come back in and she's like, we got to watch something happier. I was like, okay, let's just put a pin in Scream 7. So we turned on St. Louis DTF. And are you familiar? Have you watched it?
It's an Apple show?
It is a HBO Max, whatever, Super Max show. It's really good. I watched the first episode. The writing in it is great.
That's great. It looks fun.
Highly recommend it. It's a bunch of friends who all told me to watch it. And so I finally got into it, and it is very engaging, and I highly recommend it. At least episode 1. I don't know if it falls apart episode 2 and beyond.
Yeah. Cool.
So that's all. That's my endorsement. Yeah. All right, go.
I'll add it to the giant list that we have of TV shows.
Oh, yeah.
My next one is just that I also saw something. I saw Ready or Not 2. And speaking of Jim from our Act2 Patreon, he suggested doing sequels. So in June, we're going to do a sequel movie and talk about how does the sequel succeed or fail, etc. What do you think about as a writer when you're doing a sequel to something if you get hired to do that? And I think this is a really successful sequel because I went into it being like, it's just going to be like a rehash of the first one. Like, what's the difference? And yet, Josh, they upped the emotional ante. It's actually about something emotionally different. It's about sisters. Specifically estranged sisters who now are forced back together because of this movie and the situations, and the people who are trying to kill her now. And if you remember Ready or Not, it's about a bride who she marries unwittingly into a family of devil worshippers, and they make her play a game of hide and seek. Deadly game of hide and seek, and she ends up winning at the end. And the movie picks up right where it left off, and the people who are trying to kill her now are not the same as before. They are very different. They're just and I think the takeaway as a writer is like the theme is totally different, and that helps you build characters who are different, and her story is different because the theme is now very different. And I loved it. It was so good. It made me like jump because I was scared. It made me like giggle because like the kills were so funny. It made me hide my eyes because they were so gruesome. And it made me cry at the end. Like, what an experience.
Holy shit.
Emotional roller coaster.
I love Ready or Not with a passion.
So good.
And that first one is about relationships, right? A marriage, and then kind of meeting your in-laws. Is that kind of, I just remember having, so this one's about sisters.
Yeah.
Family. Okay. I'm in.
Yeah.
Man, we should try to get those guys on the podcast.
They're so
Radio
great.
Silence.
Yeah, they're great.
Or at least one of them. One of the three.
I feel like they only come as a group. They don't come
Radio
separately.
Silence.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Today's topic comes to us from a listener who had a follow-up question on our episode about the uglier truths of the screenwriter's lifestyle. And we had talked about how you can do all the right things. You can write the best script and still not get the job. Or in the case of my example on the episode, I said you can have the best pitch of any writer who comes in to pitch on an open writing assignment, but the producer and the studio executive will still choose someone else. And I told my story about how that happened to me. So the question then was, well, if it's not being a great writer, what are the other qualities of mediocre writers who go on to have professional careers? And I thought this was a really great question and that we would just answer it with a follow-up podcast.
I have to tell you something on the podcast.
I know what you're going to say.
No. You don't know what I have a friend who just told me a story the other day. They pitched in the room. Everyone was like, this is the best pitch we've heard. The friend walks out, calls his agent, tells him, I just crushed this pitch. The agent instantly is like, they're passing. Yeah, they just called us. They just said that too.
Wait, Like, as he was walking out, he called the agent, and, like, they'd already called him?
Like, he was in his car, like, within, like a 5 to 10-minute window of time.
Does he know why they passed?
I'm not 100% sure. It's also not fully my story to tell.
Sure.
However, when you said that about, like, you can have the best pitch, this and this, like, he, like, was just recounting, he walked out, he's cloud 9, just like, "Oh my god, I crushed this, I'm the best."
I wonder if they lied to him or if they were serious, if they were genuine, but they still just couldn't.
Yeah. My understanding was I think there was, like, one person in the room who
Was like, no.
maybe did not feel strongly about it, but, like, everyone else did.
This fucking job sucks, man.
Okay, I'm
God.
sorry, I cut you off, but when you
No.
said that, I was like, "Oh, I've been meaning to."
It hurts. That hurts me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're talking about that. But we, on our lifestyle episodes that we just did, we did a part 1 and part 2, the bad stuff, the good stuff. We talked a lot about how being a professional screenwriter is more than just about the writing, right? And what I mean by that is your day-to-day job and how you get jobs is more than just write a great script. And I think the way I want to talk about this is by breaking down some of the day-to-day things that Josh and I do as screenwriters and talking about why that has nothing to do with actual writing. And I'm going to start with job interviews. And these could be general meetings. They could be literal job interviews. Like if you're talking to a showrunner in order to get hired to staff on a TV show, that is a job interview. I just had 2 job interviews like 3 weeks ago where this company reached out to me to ask about a writing consulting job, and I had to meet 3 of their execs over Zoom before they even offered me the job. And I want to say that I know that like Anna Halligan, who we had on, that legendary TV exec that we had on, she said that generals are not job interviews, and she is right to an extent. Like literally, they are not. But I think you should think of them as job interviews. They're just not job interviews in the traditional sense. But if you do well in that meeting, it could lead to a job. But the reason why it's not a traditional job interview is because if you do well in that meeting, that doesn't mean you're going to get a job. But
Yeah.
really, a general meeting is a vibe check, right? They're trying to gauge a few things. They're trying to gauge if you're smart. Can you talk intelligently about story, like the script, the sample that they read, or other stories that you may have? Are you well versed in movies and television? Do you have other interests that speak to you being an interesting person with a unique perspective? And that could mean anything from you grew up fly fishing to you backpacked around the world to you grew up gay in a small town in Virginia. Whatever it is that gives your point of view some kind of special uniqueness on the world, that's what they're trying to gauge. They're also trying to gauge if you're sociable. And that doesn't mean are you extroverted and good at parties. It just means, are you a good conversationalist, or do you dominate the conversation, which is a red flag? If you're dating someone and this is your first date, that's a red flag. Are there a ton of awkward silences because you're shy and you're nervous, or are you too loud? Are you too quiet? And I would say that don't put added pressure on what that means. These are all the same things that anyone is picking up if you're talking to a stranger for the first time, right? It's just a vibe check. And I think specifically what an executive is looking for in general meetings is this writer someone I want to work with in the future? And is this a writer who would do a great job for me if I hired them on something? And that's it. That's what they're looking for. But if you're not good at conversation, or you don't learn to be good at conversation, because it can be something that you learn if you're not quite good at it yet, then those general meetings are not going to lead to work. And I want to give an example. My boss met with 2 writers of this insane, cool book. And they'd also, I think, written the script adaptation. So, like, if we were going to buy the book and the script, like, they were coming with it. They were a package deal. So she met with them. They were loud, they were rambunctious, they couldn't hold a single thought for very long. I think maybe they were just like so jacked up on the energy of getting to meet a big studio exec for the first time that even from outside her office with the door closed, which is where I was sitting, I could just hear them like cross talking. And also, I could only hear them talking. I could never hear my boss. So she didn't get a word in edgewise. And afterwards, she came out and was like, yeah, I can never work with them. We're going to have to abandon pursuing this book. And she loved the book.
Oh,
She loved
man.
it. But all of that told her they weren't experienced enough. And that's the thing. It's like, it's not just a personality thing that she was taking in the fact that they couldn't handle that general meeting properly. It's like, God, they're very inexperienced. Like they didn't know how to talk to an executive in like a normal way, which means when we get to the notes, like that's going to be fucking terrible. So I mean, she was intuiting a lot of problems moving forward that she was like, it's not worth it.
Man, I had this general, for some reason, I'm now just remembering this as well. It was very, very early in my world, in my life, and I was so nervous. And all I wanted to do was like make a good first impression. And this was one of those things where, I think I asked a friend to introduce me to someone who was dating somebody, and it was like the longest shot in the world. And they took the meeting, and it was just a general meeting, and I was so like rambly, quiet, nervous. And I remember I had said sorry so many times that the person actually said, you don't have to keep saying sorry. Like I would cut them off. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Like one of those. And
Yeah.
I mean, I could still just remember it just being like, it just killed me, man. I was like, I had it thinking to myself, I will never work together. This was the
Yeah.
worst meeting I've ever had.
I hate that because that's one of those memories that you like wake up at 3 a.m. and your brain will just be like, remember that?
Yeah.
Remember that time you embarrassed
Remember when I was
yourself?
25 years old and I had a bad meeting?
Yeah, it's real.
It's not good.
But also, like the good news there is, I mean, Josh and I all have learned to be better at general meetings. So like your first few will probably suck. They just will. You'll be scared. You'll feel like this is my only opportunity, especially when you're first coming up because you don't get a lot of meetings. So if you get one, you're just like, oh my God, this is everything. And I could get a job out of this. And it's true. You could possibly get a job out of it. Even if that job is a year down the line, like they'll remember you if you just say the right things. I don't want you to put that kind of pressure on it. I want you to just be comfortable, talk to them like you would talk to any new cool person that you want to meet. And but yeah, you'll learn the ways as you go. Or you could be gifted and just be really good at it right out the gate, which I'm always very envious of those people.
I think a vibe check is a perfect way to put it.
Yeah, it's a vibe check. Another piece of this puzzle is pitching, which really it's adjacent to writing. For me, I write a script. Some people don't. Some people come in with note cards that just have bullet points. Some people don't come in with shit. They just come in to talk and they do that. But it's related in that you have to be able to convey a story verbally, but it's also not writing. It is a very different skill than prose writing, than screenwriting, than TV writing. It's a totally different skill. And I hate it. I've had to teach myself how to do it. I still struggle with it. And it's hard. And part of what pitching is and what makes you good at pitching that has nothing to do with writing is, again, you are conveying your story in the most succinct way possible, in the most exciting way possible, with keywords that make someone lean in, make them interested, make them not bored, while also presenting you yourself as a person in a confident, I don't know, again, like I'm going to use the word sociable kind of
Sure.
way. You have to present yourself as someone you would want to work with, executive. Not only are you hiring me because this story is so great that you're hearing, but man, it's going to be so fun to work together, guys.
I definitely don't mind pitching as much as you do.
You son of a bitch.
But no, what you just said, like, I think it's very fascinating when you can hit those keywords, when you can say certain things that make people lean in, and there's kind of this deconstruction of the human psyche of what makes someone interesting or interested in an idea or a talk or the way you emphasize something. And I feel like part of that is so cool that if you can figure that out, it makes pitching a lot easier, and you could just kind of
But it's
catch the
hard.
flow.
It's
No,
hard
no,
to
no.
figure out.
It's incredibly hard. It's not easy, but I think we've talked about this. For better or worse, it's a performance, I think, where you kind of have to present in a certain way. Like you're saying, with the confidence, you have a handle on everything. You have a certain tone, you have a certain pace, and you have a handle on this idea.
I hear from a lot of producers that writers will typically come in and just read from a document. Their eyes will be on the document and they will just read from it. And they say to me, they probably shouldn't, but they say to me that it is like so boring and like they can't wait to get out of that pitch meeting. It's so awful. And so like being engaging is a big part of it. I remember when I was first like trying to figure out my style of pitching and just trying to get good at it, I would bring in my laptop to read my script off of. And I was good at like looking up and looking back down at the script. I had to figure out, by the way, how to write my script so that I wouldn't get lost. There's a whole
Yeah.
way that I write, like a style that I write it in that makes it very clear in clear blocks. But my agent at the time said, you should not bring your laptop in because it creates this barrier between you and everyone else at the table. If you can, like note cards, a small piece of paper or something, to just allow there to be no separation between you and everyone else. And so instead, I got like a mini iPad and I used that. And it was just small and tiny, and I could like easily just like thumb through to the next page. And that seemed to help. It was like, it felt more open. I felt less kind of closed off. And it's weird. It's just one little thing. But that's why Josh says it's a performance. It's every piece matters.
Did you believe that about the laptop?
I felt different when I
Oh, okay.
had an iPad. I don't think ultimately me having a laptop instead of a mini iPad is going to decide whether I get the job or not. But I do think when we're, especially in those first stages where we're trying to figure out how to be comfortable, how to tell these stories, how to relate to the people across the table as we're pitching, like these little tweaks can help you.
Yeah.
And I think maybe a laptop, especially as I was coming up, could have been used as a crutch for me to just like stare at it and like keep me feeling sort of separated from everybody else.
Yeah.
It's so
iPad's
stupid.
probably the way to go.
Yeah. Anyways, but I've also, again, done this killer pitch where I was confident and knew my story and had all the keywords and still didn't get the job. And someone else who read their thing with their head down might have gotten the job. I don't know, man. It's not a perfect recipe. It's very weird. But the more you can pitch this way, the better off you will be, the more successful, I think, ultimately.
Sure.
Another piece that Josh and I talk a lot about is taking notes. How you take notes from producers and studio executives and other writers. It is all going to determine whether you continue to work. And this can be whether you are a writer in a TV room, you're a staff writer, or you are a showrunner leading something and you're talking to executives who are giving you notes, or you've written a spec and you're now getting notes to revise it at a studio, whatever the case may be, you will always get notes. And if you cannot handle getting notes, you cannot be respectful, you cannot leave your ego at the door, but even kind of more importantly, you can't actually address the notes well, meaning you can't see what is the note behind the note. How do I take this note that my character is unlikable and actually change my character in a way that is helping that note and solving that problem, but also staying true to what the story is. And I will tell another example of a very good writer that I knew coming up, and he had really cool ideas, and I was always so envious of the like really awesome concepts that he had, and the fact that, you know, I was assistant at the time and he's getting his scripts read by studio executives. I was like, oh man, someday, like that's so cool, man. But the reason he never became a fully professional screenwriter, and even now he's not, is that he would take every single note literally and just do them, because I think he was so afraid, because he was at that tender stage of like, yes, studio execs are reading my stuff. Can see the light. Like I could get this movie made if I just do their note. And so he would literally do all of their notes, and then suddenly the script would be like unrecognizable. It wouldn't be him. It wouldn't be interesting. It wouldn't be that original kernel of something that was just so cool, because he's addressed notes from people who aren't writers, right? He wasn't looking behind the note and really trying to solve problems. And that becomes very key. And that's not something that you're taught. It's something that you learn. It's story instinct. It's experience over time. So that can be a place where writers can fail, but where mediocre writers can succeed if they understand how to address notes. And you can make a whole career out of being a rewriter. You don't even have to write an original script and still make an entire career, have a house, have your good life. But your job is solely to come in, see what the problems are, take the notes, and execute them, because it's a skill.
You're great at taking notes and figuring out the note
Thanks.
behind the note. I feel like as you go through a process on a script, for me at least, like once you go so many drafts and then maybe you get a new note. Like sometimes I'm just so broken. I'm just like, yeah, I'm just going to do the note. Whereas you could probably take a step back and say, okay, well, what does this mean? A little more rational and figure out exactly what it means. This is all to say it absolutely is a skill. And even when you know there is a note behind the note, you will still sometimes just execute that initial note.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to see. And especially when you're tired, you're just like, I'll just do it. If that's going to make you accept this draft, I'll just fucking do it. And then you do it and they're like, what is this? I don't like it. Oh, you don't like your own note? Okay.
You gave me the note. Yeah, this didn't work. Let's just do it again.
I didn't know. So yeah, this is another skill that is not, I mean, it is writing. Of course it's writing, but it's its own writing skill that some people don't have. Some people need to cultivate. So that's an important thing to remember about what your writing life will look like. And then there's show running. If you write for TV and you want to actually have your own show on TV, then you will ultimately end up being a showrunner. And to be a showrunner is like less about writing and more about everything else. It's more about producing. It's about managing teams. It's about having opinions about things, being direct, being able to have opinions quickly. It's about having a vision. So like there's writing stuff in there, having a vision, making sure you know what the show looks and feels like so you can talk to all the department heads about what they should be doing. But it's really about managing people while also somehow managing to write and revise, because you're also constantly writing as a showrunner. You're revising lines, you're revising scripts while also managing people at the same time, which kind of leads very naturally into time management, which I think is a really big one for screenwriters who are successful. And we talk about this endlessly on the podcast because Josh and I are both advocates for being good time managers. But can you pursue and work on multiple projects at the same time? And that, I think, is a really good indicator of whether you can be a screenwriter with longevity and be successful as a professional. And that means you can be a mediocre writer, but be really good at all this stuff. And you could still continue to get work and still to push things forward because you're executing on a high level, meaning like you are getting shit done for people. And a lot of times, so many producers talk about how writers just don't turn in drafts. They are paid to write a thing and they just don't turn it in. And they're waiting literally, I've heard people talk about years. They waited like 2 years before they got a draft in, and there's nothing they can do. They can't do anything about that.
Can you imagine just starting something and then like 2 years go by and you just send the draft to a producer and you're like,
cannot.
Hey, let me know what you think. And you're like, I would lose my mind.
Like the narcissistic asshole that I would have to be to do that is unimaginable.
Let me know what you feel about Act 1.
Look forward to your thoughts.
Thanks for your understanding.
Yeah, not good. Not good. And again, I just want to give an example because this week is a particular one that can break you if not. And Josh, I'm sure you could also speak to this. So this week, just this week alone, I had an all-day meeting that was a kickoff to a new job that I have, that writing consulting thing I mentioned. This week, I am also revising my feature spec that I need to get out ASAP. Like I should have gotten it out last week, but I'm still addressing notes from my manager and that's my main priority because the option of the book that I'm adapting expires in July. I'm also revising a pilot episode for a show that I'm co-show running and supervising at Amazon. I'm also in post on Mighty Nine season 2, so I'm having to watch edits, I'm having to give notes, I'm having to revise lines of dialogue that aren't working now that we've seen edited things together. I have to do music and sound effects spots, which take hours. I have to go to mixes, which take half a day. The mixes are next week, but speaking of this week specifically, I am doing all of those other things. I'm also giving notes to a writer on a project that I'm developing and producing with her. So I have to read her script and then have really thoughtful thoughts and then sit down with her for a couple hours to go through those thoughts. I'm also writing a pitch script for a movie that I'm pitching with a major producer. That's also a priority this week. I also should have had that done by last week. I am also revising a deck for a Disney Plus show that I'm working on, because we revamped the idea because they got new mandates. They fired people and rehired new people, and they were like, we don't want to do this anymore. We want to do this version of it. So now I have to rewrite this thing, and this is also a priority this week. I also have a meeting on Saturday that I have to prep for with another writer whose script I'm producing, where we have to go through like the mystery of her pilot episode, make sure it's hitting all the right marks. I also got 2 things submitted to me this week by 2 companies that I really want to work with. And one is this like webtoon thing, so I have to read that. And then the other is a show that I have to watch, like an animated series they want to adapt to live action. So I have to handle all those and also come up with ideas. I also had to prep for this podcast. I have to prep for our Act 2 Patreon Zoom that we had. And somehow find time to eat, clothe myself, make sure my house isn't completely slovenly. I had to work out. And I had to hang out with my husband. And so that's just 1 week, guys. And all of these things, except for that all-day meeting, I'm not getting paid for. And that's fucking tough.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel I have to do in order to continue to work. Now, I will say, I can already hear certain writer friends of mine in my head being like, you don't have to do all that, Tasha. And I think there's a yes and the no. I feel like I have to do that in order to, I don't know, do projects that I love. I'm excited about all these things that I have on my plate. It's just too much. And some people are able to, again, because there's always exceptions to every rule, some people are able to just write 1 or 2 things at a time. But I feel like you always have to be looking for work and working on other things.
I think you have to be doing it. I don't think you're busy enough.
You are so bad for me.
Yeah, and
And Josh, how much do you sleep? Do you sleep 4 hours, 5 hours?
I'm in like the 5.5 to 6 hour range at this point.
Okay. And you have a
Yeah.
daughter, so you're managing having a daughter, picking her up from school, taking her to various things, hanging out with her, doing her homework with her, whatever you do, but also like
Yeah.
full time, all these other things. You have a project you're developing, you have all this other like shorts and stuff you're shooting, and like how much are you working in a day? No, I'm not talking about like kids and all this, like just like working in a day.
Working is a hard thing to define. I feel like, honestly, because there's some times where I'm just around waiting for someone to call me because I'm waiting to answer something or I'm waiting for an email. And I feel like working like always, like I don't know if there was a time to, with the exception of, yes, I'm doing homework with my daughter or I'm hanging out with her. There are times where I'll just set my phone off to the side, and it's usually just specifically with her. And so, yeah, I mean, always.
Always.
I don't even know when there's an off. I don't know.
Yeah, because for me too, like you may get a call or an email really late at night that they need an answer on by that night or tomorrow morning. And you have to watch something, you have to give notes, whatever.
You know what's so crazy is just yesterday, Nicole, my wife, made a comment because I have like sports. I was looking at ESPN on my phone. Like I was just like getting Sport Tracker. And she was like, remember when you used to watch sports? And I was like,
oh God.
I think I still do. And she was like, I don't know if you do. And I was like, oh my God, have I just stopped watching sports? Like the one thing that I thought I loved more than anything.
Yeah.
And I think it goes into just time, and like little things in your life just kind of go away when you realize that you need to do things that are a little bit more pressing.
Yeah.
And I can see it too. I am just not the sport person I used to be, and it's kind of messing with me.
You should do what I do. I watched Dodgers last night and was also reading a script at the same time.
I still watch highlights.
That's good.
You know what? I'm going to blame social media. I feel like social media killed a lot of sports viewing, because then you could just watch highlights pretty quickly and you're like, oh, look at this. This is great. But no, I miss the experience, and
you just got to throw it on in the background.
I'm going to throw it on in the background.
Okay. The last thing I want to say is you don't need most of these skills actually if you just want to be a feature spec writer. I feel like for writing specs, a studio will buy your spec whether you're an asshole or a weirdo or you're both, because they could just fire you off your own script and then hire someone else to revise it instead. But what we're talking about is what the question was referring to, which is having, a professional screenwriting career longevity. If you want to work beyond that first spec sale and continue to work, you will likely need some of these other skills. But I also want to say there are exceptions to every rule. There are exceptions. You might be the person who doesn't need to work on 12 things at once in a week. And you shouldn't. It's too much. I'm overwhelmed. I shouldn't be taking on these many things because then the work starts to suffer and blah, blah, blah. But it's my reality right now. And it's because I am pursuing work, trying to pay my rent.
This industry's awesome.
I love that that's still your takeaway, man.
I still love it, man. I'm going to go down.
Too.
I will go down with the ship. I'm going to be the guys playing the violin.
Yep.
It's like,
I'll be there
everything's
with you.
good. You never know. The ship might surface.
Well, that's what we have to say. Those are various other qualities that you will need to sort of harvest and harness for being a professional screenwriter. And they are other skills. If you see screenwriters out there and you're like, this script got made, they may have these other skills that are very practical. A lot of mediocre screenwriters get produced and continually get produced because they are very good at the practicality of the business, being on set, the pressures that are on set, having to rewrite in pressured situations, knowing how to rewrite if something now has to be inside instead of outside, and how do I make those production adjustments. If you're good at that, that's also another skill that can make you a successful screenwriter.
There are certain people who are like, I just want to be a feature writer and I'm just going to write these features. And because of that, I will take my feature meetings. I'll do all of this and I'm going to sacrifice other things for that. And that's totally fine because I'm going to have a career. I'm going to have a living. I'm going to be with my family. I'm going to take vacations. And I think there's this natural instinct to want to do everything and be like, oh my God, I do want to show run. I do want to feature write. I want to make this. I want to produce 400 things, which is also great, but that might not be for everybody, so I do think that it can feel daunting, but if you also just kind of know what you want to do and you just kind of feel content there, I think that can also help kind of limit how overwhelmed you can get within the industry.
For sure. But it is also hard to just write feature, like original. Are you talking about like original ideas?
No, I'm talking about, I'm just basing this off of like one or two people that I know who the most of their work is maybe in like the feature space, or vice versa. People have most of their work in the television space and they haven't really broken into the feature space. And they're like really happy people.
Mm-hmm. How often are they working? Like if you're a feature writer, like
I think all the time.
Examples. So they're always getting new work. But to get the new work, are they writing just by themselves original screenplays, or are they taking these meetings and going out on these pitches and trying to get,
you know what, Tasha, it's full
jobs.
circle. They're taking the meetings, they're going on the pitches, they're doing everything.
Yeah. And once you get to a certain level, that the sort of rat race of it, I think, eases off a little bit. But I'll never forget an interview that I listened to of Eric Heiserer, who after Arrival, which is this huge like Oscar-winning movie, he went to a pitch and he was saying to his agents like, wait, I'm pitching against like still other people. I don't just like walk in and now have jobs. And they're like, no, now you're pitching with other Oscar winners. You're just in another tier, but you still have to fight for your bread. And he was like so shocked by that. And I think like so horrified by that. He thought that if I make it, then I've made it. And I don't think there is a making it in this industry. But yes, you can definitely be someone who writes a feature movie a year and makes a really good living off of it. And you don't have to stress like Tasha does and be crazy. And I also know writers who manage to do that, but they are still having to pitch a lot, still having to create their own content just in case that pitch in case they don't win that pitch, they still have to have something else they have ready to go to sell. So it's still multitasking regardless.
I think what I was going to say, because I think you have a distinct ability to multitask and you can do a lot of different things. Not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
I know.
I'm just saying this if anyone starts beating themselves up and they're like, I can't do all of this. And
Yeah.
that's okay.
I think I do want to be clear. You don't have to do the 12 things to get work.
No. I think it's clear.
All right, guys. I'm going to take us out with the quote of the day.
Yeah.
I write for the same reason I breathe, because if I didn't, I would die. Isaac Asimov. Please remember to rate and subscribe. Follow us at ActTwoWriters for more awesome writing stuff. You can follow me, Tasha, at Story Thursday on Instagram.
And I'm Josh Hallman on Instagram.
And as always, the Act Two podcast is a production of Act Two, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This episode was edited by Paul Lundquist.